It was March 26, 1993, when a New York jury found Peter Gotti guilty of being a mafia boss. He had been the head of the Gambino crime family since 1986, after the death of his brother Paul. This man was a former associate of Gotti's that turned rat. His name was Samuel Gravano. And if you want to know more about the story, stay till the end. But first, let's take a look at what happened to Gotti after the verdict. Peter Gotti got to the point where he made millions of dollars through illegal means, including extortion, gambling, loan sharking, and even murder. And lifestyle because his father and many other relatives were part of the mafia. Therefore, he couldn't be convicted of racketeering. The judge didn't buy it, though, saying that Gotti was indeed the boss. As evidence, the judge brought up a conversation Gotti had with a member of the Genovese crime family about ripping off a movie producer for $1 million. You have flaunted your wealth. You have lived a life of luxury at the expense of honest people. You have treated the criminal justice system with absolute contempt. While Gotti was escorted out of the courtroom, he made a vulgar gesture to the media. The MCC was a much more secure facility than the State Correctional Institute, especially since it had housed notorious criminals like the Unabomber Ted Kaczynski and the drug kingpin El Chapo. The MCC was so secure that every cell was equipped with 3 cameras monitoring everything inmates did. There were also 400 guards patrolling the facility. Before being taken away, the FBI even confiscated a tape recorder from Gotti's lawyer, which contained notes on the case. The following day, the FBI released a statement saying Gotti was missing from his jail cell. On January 28, 2002, while he was still locked up, Gotti's wife, Victoria, vanished, and no one knows what happened to her. And although Peter Gotti was the main suspect in her disappearance, he was never charged or convicted. He changed his name to Robert P. Kelly and wore a wiretap. Then in 2011, he filed a lawsuit against the government for failing to protect his wife. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, but Gotti eventually lost. Later that year, Gotti was released from prison due to good behavior. However, he was rearrested soon after for violating parole. He was accused of playing cards and Monopoly with other inmates, which was forbidden. Gotti claimed that he only played with the chaplain present, but the judge didn't buy it. He sentenced Gotti to 6 months in prison, but he later served the remainder of his 19-year sentence. She was last seen getting into a car with 3 men outside a Long Island bagel shop. The men were supposedly Gotti's bodyguards. Surveillance footage showed them driving Victoria's Lexus SUV to an unknown location. And despite all the efforts of the authorities, they still haven't found his wife's remains. After that, the vehicle was abandoned in a parking lot. Authorities believe that the bodyguards were hired by Gotti to kill his wife. The reason may have been that Victoria was planning to divorce Peter and take half of his fortune. It read, Mr. Gotti was discovered missing during a routine count of inmates at approximately 10 o'clock Eastern Time this morning. The count is a procedure used to ensure that all inmates are where they are supposed to be. It continued, at the time of the count, Mr. Gotti was not in his cell. The last time he was seen was during a previous count at approximately 10 p.m. Eastern Time on June 10th. In the call, Gotti said, I'm a captain, but I'm running the family. The director of the FBI at the time, Louis Freeh, said, Peter Gotti is considered extremely dangerous and should not be approached. The authorities were able to track him down thanks to a tip. Someone had seen Gotti entering a hotel in Puerto Plata, a city on the north coast of the island. Then the FBI sent 2 agents to question the hotel staff. They learned that Gotti had rented a room under the name Robert P. Kelly and that he had arrived alone. One of the agents asked the desk clerk to bring him a photo of Gotti, to which the clerk responded, Oh, you mean the big ugly guy who beat up 2 of my guys? The FBI agents were able to arrest Gotti without a struggle. He was returned to the U.S. and taken back to New York. Anyone with information in this matter should immediately contact the FBI. The judge said that if Peter Gotti wasn't the boss, then why would he talk to the Genovese crime family about ripping someone off? The judge also said that Gotti was actually the most powerful mafia boss at the time, even more than Joseph Massino, the boss of the Bonanno crime family. So when he became an adult, it was only natural that Gotti would also join the group. They found Gotti guilty of racketeering and murder conspiracy. The next day, Gotti faced up to 100 years in prison. However, he had already spent 4 years behind bars awaiting trial. Also, Judge I. Leo Glasser decided to run the sentences concurrently rather than consecutively, meaning he wouldn't spend 100 years in prison, but instead 19 years. Peter's older brother, Paul, was the underboss of the Gambino crime family. and Paul would help Peter climb the ranks faster than anyone else. After hearing the sentence, Gotti went to a restaurant and told his meal that he might need to kill a judge and a juror in order to get a better sentence next time. Specifically, they took him to the State Correctional Institute at Greenhaven, which was located about 100 miles north of New York City. It was a maximum security prison known for housing the most dangerous criminals, such as serial killers and sex offenders. Was then charged with threatening a government official, which led to an additional 5 years in prison. While Gotti's trial was taking place, there was a key witness who testified against him. Peter Louis Gotti was born in Brooklyn, New York, in 1949. He grew up around the Mafia culture. When Peter was just 20 years old, he became a capo in the crime family. Then, in 1986, his brother Paul died, leaving Peter to take over the Gambino crime family. Now, as a Mafia boss, Peter could make a lot of money, and he did. He made millions by controlling illegal gambling, construction, and various other businesses. He was also responsible for several murders during this time. In 1990, Gotti was indicted for racketeering and murder conspiracy. The charges were based on 2 murders that Gotti allegedly ordered. The 2 victims were business associates of Gotti's, who he felt threatened by. Even though Gotti had not directly participated in the murders, he had paid the hitmen himself. Also, wiretaps on Gotti's phones revealed that he had talked about killing people with law enforcement on his trail. One example is how Gotti discussed on the phone how he would have a cop killed in order to get another guy out of prison. In the meantime, one of Gotti's top advisors, a man named Frank Thierry, was sentenced to 20 years in prison for racketeering. Gotti's attorney tried to argue that he was a mafia captain and not a boss, meaning he wasn't in charge of anything. Finally, on March 26, 1993, after deliberating for 16 days, the jury agreed with the judge. The judge stated, "You are a mafia boss who is engaged in murder, extortion, bribery, gambling, and other illegal activities." Now, for some reason, the authorities had put Gotti in a different jail than the one where most of the mobsters were kept. However, Gotti was later transferred to the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. But despite all those security measures, on June 11, 1999, Gotti managed to escape. Later, the FBI offered a $1 million reward for any information leading to Gotti's capture. Meanwhile, Gotti was on the run for 2 months until he was caught. In fact, he managed to escape to the Dominican Republic. He was given an extra 5 years in prison for escaping. However, Gotti didn't serve all of it. To this day, Victoria's remains have never been found. After Gotti's release in 2007, he lived in hiding in the New York area under the Witness Protection Program. Since then, Gotti's whereabouts are unknown. He could be anywhere in the United States. If you enjoyed this episode, watch another short about the most ruthless mafia boss of all time.